We are live. Here we are. But of course, we know the first 30 or so seconds is people on YouTube watching an ad or on Twitch. So usually we don't see a lot of folks until then. All right. Fun times. Shannon, have you done any fun traveling of late? Or?
Yeah, I went back to Japan.
Japan folks.
Yep. I'm going to Des Moines, Iowa next week.
Oh, exciting.
Oh, yeah. It'll be really cool, though. It's for a tech event. So.
Oh, cool. They've got a nice little tech scene. I used to work with a...
Apparently.
I worked with a PM, a product manager that at a startup years ago, and then he left to go to Google, and I think he got laid off actually in the Google layoffs. But he was from Iowa and was always a big proponent of the Iowa tech scene and everything.
Oh my God, Wen.
You right, Wen?
Yep. That was kind of a huge water bottle. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
I will say I was in Des Moines, Iowa once, and it was the summer of 1995. That's when I was on tour and when I was roadieing, and literally the road we were on went from pavement to dirt road, and I was like, "Oh, this is what the Midwest is like." Because here we are in a city I've heard of, and there are still dirt roads. No. I thought that was
Welcome to the Midwest, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We got dirt, lots of it.
I don't have any. I mean, I have some travel that I can't talk about coming up, but I did just come back from LA for Summer Games Fest, actually, which was kind of a surprise that I was invited.
Nice.
And
I'm
there's a couple of things that I saw
jealous.
there that I'm going to talk about later, of course, if you're listening. But of course, most of it's not Android related. It's all just gaming stuff. There's a couple of Android adjacent games that were unveiled, some updates to Genshin Impact, and then there was a new Batman game for the Quest 3, which technically runs Android,
Ooh.
so it's kind of related. But I also saw a whole bunch of new Samsung monitors that were there, and some features that integrate well with their ecosystem that I'll show off.
Cool. Very,
Oh,
very
that
cool.
sounds so fun.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
I am vaguely in the market for a new curved widescreen gaming monitor.
I haven't pulled the trigger because I just
I was gonna
can't.
say.
There are too many options. I want one. Remember, earlier when we started the show, I wanted to have one, have more, and I just haven't done it because I don't know. Yeah. So
When do you want one of mine?
Maybe because
I want to upgrade.
the one I'm trying to upgrade is in Maryland, so I bought a widescreen, but it's not curved. And I think I saw some, not Tom's guide, but someone, I clicked through, it got to an Amazon link, and I swear it said curved, but then it being the uncurved one. And now I'm having major first world problems because my periphery is not that good. So I'm just oh, I need these here. I need these here because I can't actually see anyway. Yeah, maybe I might take you up on it. Maybe I can maybe just have it send it to my house or something.
Girl, I would hand deliver it. You're local.
To Maryland?
no, but she would.
To Maryland?
You hand
Yeah.
delivered, then she ships it. She needs it in Maryland. Yeah, so
I need
it's
it in my other office, at my sister's house. My bad. Yeah, to be honest.
Gotcha. I was wondering why you said Maryland. I was like, what?
My bad. Yeah. I record in Maryland not too infrequently. Everyone loves my Maryland backdrop because I have this really cool acoustic puzzle wall. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, everybody
tiles, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the panels.
Yeah.
Everyone loves it. I'm just sorry, that's my sometimes office. You got to deal with my favorite Dota character. I might actually switch this back here.
I kind of love that though. It's very Final Fantasy.
My husband loves this style. He used to play Dota way back in the day, but yeah, the watercolor, absolutely. I've already been told that I'm going to lose him at the end of the month because Final Fantasy 14 is coming out with a DLC. So he put it on the calendar. So I know that if I want to, I should stay in Maryland a little longer or something because I don't see him very much on those weeks.
Oh,
It's okay. It's okay.
All right, those of you watching live on the YouTube or Twitch, if you let us know generally how our audio sounds as we're all kind of chit-chatting here, because Jason is not here and he has a fancy audio monitoring thing that I don't have access to. So if one of us sounds loud or soft, just tell us and we'll adjust as needed. Also, this is probably a good time to remind everybody we forget to do this in the pre-show, but go pick a title. Go to af.showbot.tv, and as the show goes along, type in your title votes. We love to read them. So that's always a fun game. So yay! All right. Well, I don't want to talk because, I want other audio checks. So Mishaal, how hot is it in Texas today?
As usual, extremely hot and humid.
Yeah.
What part of Texas are you in?
Houston.
Mm.
All right. And
I lived in San Antonio for a short time when I was a wee little snubs.
Little snubs.
Little snubs.
All right. Well, it looks like folks are saying Mishaal is low on volume. Mishaal, can you either raise your level or move the mic closer, or I can bump up your audio on my side if you want.
It was 100 degrees in Denver last Thursday, which was hot, but it's not the same without humidity.
Yeah, that's true.
It's still hot, but it hits different when it sticks to you. Thank you, baby. Office door was open.
We finally are the heat wave that New York was dealing with finally broke, and it's been just high 60s, low 70s, in that perfect zone. But it's gonna be gonna be in the 90s again tomorrow. So
what's Denver weather next week? I'm indoors.
Yeah, we have pretty good weather, overall.
Yep.
It's 95 in Denver tomorrow. So
okay, Mishaal, did you adjust your level or?
Oh, I thought you did.
Oh no, I was waiting. Okay, I'll do it. Hang on. Oop. There we go. Edit mic settings. There we go. Mishaal, what did you have for breakfast today?
I had a banana and a cup of coffee. That was my breakfast.
All right, it's a healthy breakfast. Banana and coffee. There it is. What did you have for lunch? Talk more.
I had 2 slices of sourdough bread and 2 poached eggs.
All right. Can you pull the mic down a little closer to you too? I think that would help too. Or you can, or no, or turn the gain up a little bit, just a touch, because I have you pretty high up on our side. I'm afraid about going up higher.
Yeah, the reason I didn't pull it closer was because Jason wanted it completely out of frame for my head, so so I wouldn't overlap, so he can get that still that he does. I think, how's this?
Yeah, I think that sounds all right. Everybody in the audience, what do you think?
How do I sound?
All right, Mishaal, fine.
Sounds good.
Sounds fine in YouTube for me. All right, cool. All right. Shall we get started? When you good with kicking things off? All right, cool. All right, stand by. I'm gonna remove everyone from the stage. Bye, Mishaal. Bye, Shannon. All right, I'm going to stop my camera, but you can still hear me, right?
yes.
Good. Okay. I got to remember how to do all this stuff. Okay. Let me turn looping off. All right. When I'll cover you up and then we'll get started. All right.
Hey, this is Android Faithful, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps in the wide, wonderful, increasingly AI-wielding world of Android. I'm Huyen Tue Dao.
I'm Mishaal Rahman.
And I'm Ron Richards, and it is the three of us this week because Mr. Jason is off on a international adventure, and he's leaving us for the next 3 weeks. So I'm driving the bus. So everybody, be kind.
Be kind. Stay behind the yellow line. And welcome our guest for this week while Jason is out. Repeat guest and creator friend Shannon Morse.
Hello.
Hi, Shannon.
Thank you for having me. I'm so.
We'll get to it later in the show, but if you're listening on audio and you're a patron member and you didn't vote in the patron poll, take a second to go to Patreon to look at the patron poll graphic, and we'll show it later in the show. We'll talk about it, but I thought it was good timing to use that graphic. So Anyway, Apple, yay! But first, Win, we have some. You got some stuff to talk about, right?
Yeah. So actually, this last Wednesday, about 6 days ago, I released the first episode of Android Faithful Dialogues, the kind of reawakening, rebooting of my previous interview series, Android Dialogues. But now it's Android Faithful Dialogues, and the first one I am actually really, really proud of. It is with a lady that I used to work with at Atlassian named Lacey Kobrigger, and she is a native mobile designer. And what that means, she will tell you in my interview with her. But yeah, she has a lot of great, I don't know, just learnings and stories about being a designer for at first games, but then eventually for both iOS and Android, and kind of like a lot of learnings that she had from there. I had a wonderful time talking to Lacey. And yeah, for all of y'all, there is a free version of the interview up on YouTube, subtitled in both English and Spanish, by the way. But for our lovely supporters of AndroidFaithful.com or our patrons, you can get an extended version of the interview with Lacey, as well as a full transcript as well as English and Spanish subtitles. So yeah, please check it out. And by the way, this is actually very appropriate that I am announcing the first episode here when Shannon is here, because I just got to give a shout out to Shannon, because Shannon, YouTube creator and mistress as she is, actually gave me a lot of help and pointers with the thumbnail, which I think came out fabulously. So anyway, perfect timing. And yeah, everyone please check it out. I'm really, really proud of how the first interview went out, and hopefully more to come.
Yeah, it came out great, when it was awesome.
I love it.
Yeah, and a quick programming note for everybody. I know when we launched AndroidFaithful.com, we said that Dialogues was going to be kind of like a newsletter format, but as you got into it, realized that it was very video heavy and that sort of thing. So it's available on the site. It's available on the public version is available, like I said, on YouTube, and the extended version is available on AndroidFaithful.com for those of you who subscribe at the even more Android Faithful level. So just want everyone to be aware of that, and thank you to everybody who's signed up for that. We hope people enjoyed it. So. Cool. All right. So with that, why don't we get right into the news, because it has been a newsworthy week already. And here's the thing. We did the survey a couple weeks ago, and a couple people were like, don't bash Apple. We don't like it when you guys bash Apple. And I tend to agree with that opinion. I don't like it when we play the us versus them kind of game, but I do think it's important to know what's going on across the street. Right. And as we eternally have the iOS Android ping pong game going back and forth, where features get rolled out and then the other operating system adopts it and slightly tweaks it and that sort of thing. So of course that happened again with the announcement of iOS 18. I'm assuming everybody watching or listening to this is familiar with what Apple announced. They had various methods of customizing your screen. You can finally arrange icons however you want, which I just think is very funny. A whole bunch of other kind of interesting kind of additional controls. And then, of course, also we finally got the news of when they're going to roll out RCS. Saying it's coming in iOS 18 this fall, and it's going to be the RCS Universal Profile 2.4, which is a little bit different than the Google RCS version. And then the big announcement, WWDC, was just basically Apple, finally stepping into the AI game, and announcing that they're going to be introducing Apple Intelligence and how that integrates into the operating system and what it actually can do and things like that. So lots of, some stuff is similar to what happened on route. I thought it'd be good just to hear from everybody on the show, kind of what was your kind of biggest takeaway in the iOS versus Android kind of world after the iOS 18 announcements. So I don't know, Mishaal, what did you think coming out of that?
I was mostly, the first thing I tweeted that was related to WWDC was how surprised I was by how long some of the features they're adding have been missing in iOS and macOS. So I don't want to, like, as you mentioned, bash too hard that these features have been missing. Things like T9 dialing, right? Things like being able to rearrange icons on your home screen in iOS. Things like being able to snap windows in macOS, right? These are like features that literally you've had for a decade on other platforms, but they're finally here on iOS, and that's good. But like a lot of the reactions that I kind of got when I mentioned, oh, these are finally being added on the platform, is like Apple tend to take their time, but they always do it better. And kind of like the discourse around these announcements has kind of been, like apologistic, I feel, towards the company that's releasing these features, right? Like, there's no reason that it should have taken this long for T9 dialing to be released, for example, right? It's not a technical reason that they didn't do so. It was definitely a product decision, and I kind of feel the philosophy behind it is it's a feature that's like it's supposed to be like a relic of the old era, but like it's not how you're supposed to be using your phone, but that is how millions of people want to use their phone. So a lot of these features that we're finally getting are things that people have been wanting for literally a decade, and we're finally getting because I guess the outcry has been so big to finally push them over the edge.
Well, you're tapping into.
They could have added a decade ago. Yes, I am tapping into the iOS versus Android debate, but I feel
no,
like
no, you're not. You're tapping it. You're tapping into the Apple reality distortion field, which is there's the way that everybody might want to use devices or think they want to use devices, and there's the way that Apple has decided you need to use the device. And that goes back to Steve Jobs. I mean, that's an old Steve Jobs thing, right? I mean, like, what is the story of him, somebody getting him to sign a keyboard and him popping off the keys he didn't like on the keyboard, like the F keys, like the function keys and all stuff like that, because he thought a keyboard should have as little number of keys as possible, right? Like, there is a Apple mindset of, no, we are making this, we know what's best for you, whether you like it or not. And it's interesting to see that erode over the years, as you kind of pointed out. Shannon, what did you think of all the announcements?
Lower your volume, because I immediately wooed really loud whenever I saw that they were finally actually coming out with RCS. Like, yes, we heard the rumors. Yes, they announced it last year, but we didn't have a specific timeline other than 2024. So it was really nice to see them get on stage at WWDC or WWDC. Oh my God, the double W's always gets me. And have them actually, give us 15 seconds of RCS news, even if it was just that short amount of time. So I was very excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting to see how, if there was an ability for them to implement end-to-end encryption between Androids and iPhones, like that would be really exciting for me. But the fact that I can now send videos and photos to my iPhone Toten family, and they will actually be able to see the little birds in the bird nest that I'm taking a picture of. That's going to be really nice. I won't have them telling me that it looks terrible anymore. So I'm very excited for that part. The home screen customizations, I'm excited for my Apple friends and family, because they're finally going to be able to experience something that I've had access to and kind of I feel like I've taken advantage of for a very, very long time. And it's hard for me to go over to an iPhone and not have that anymore. So yeah, overall, I had positive feelings when I was watching WWDC, even though it doesn't necessarily impact me other than using RCS does. Overall, I know that it's going to be good experiences for people that are close to me.
Right. Wynn, how about you? What were your thoughts as from the dev side, at least, or from your personal?
I think generally like positive impact. And hey, I used to be an iOS dev. I could be again. And I think anything that the high tide lifts all boats. I do think that it's interesting, and I'll take the tinting as a microcosm of and as you said, Ron, the different approaches. And so I think the conversation for us, and I really don't want to go into they did it first or we did it first. We're stealing from each other, and we're going to leapfrog, and hopefully the things that we don't have, more third-party lock screen widgets and stuff, will come to us. But I think it's really interesting, it's just a different approach, right? They're two different operating systems, and they're two companies that are kind of approaching their mobile platforms very differently. So iOS wants controlled; it's a walled garden, and I think their approach seems to be, we want to give users control and to be the person to control what users see and do. And I think the tinting is a really interesting microcosm of that, right? Because for the way that tinting works for iOS icons is that users can directly control, I think the icon and the background tint as well directly with a hex slider, right? Just a hex slider, whatever you want, doesn't have to be keyed off anything, is totally under your control. Whereas, for, Android, what we have is Material U, right? Where the developers have to actually create an icon that supports it. And so these are two different philosophies, right? I am not actually one to customize my phones in this way. I prefer more shortcuts and functions. So theming is kind of lost on me. So just take that with what I'm going to say. But I do think it's really interesting because the Android approach is hey, we want buy-in from OEMs, we want buy-in from developers, and we want to create the best quality overall experience for the user, even if if developers don't play ball, some of those experiences are kind of like missing, whereas Apple's like, no, this is how we feel like it should be, and we're going to drag everyone along with us. And so that's kind of up to you as a user as to which is your better thing. Although I will say that, yeah, it really sucks when developers don't support Material You, but I also worry about the contrast a bit on some of this tinting just for accessibility, because some of those icons.
Have you seen some of the creations people have made? It can look really bad very easily.
Yeah.
So, but again,
Well,
like,
but that's true for anything, though, right?
Yeah.
Anything can look really bad very easily, right?
So-
But that's kind of why Material You limits what
How
options
bad.
you
yeah,
can
so
do, right?
it's like if you're a person that wants theming and you want to control it, then this is great for you. And I'm, dang it, like, Godspeed, go tint those icons. I'm not a Material You user, so like it's kind of like, again, lost to me. But I do still think it's interesting to see that we're both platforms are kind of like logarithmically approaching like similar UIs, but still very much you can see the philosophy of each company behind how they implement things. So I just think that's cool. And it's the way it should be, like choice, like options, like different ways of doing it. And then like if better things shape out, they shake out. So
That's one thing I wanted to just follow up on, like choice and options. Like that's kind of why I was kind of hammering a lot of these points, is because like, when iOS lacks a certain feature and lacks it for like literally a decade, right? If you're locked into the Apple ecosystem, you have really no other option but to just cope with the feature. Maybe as you can see, a lot of people kind of make excuses for the company. Whereas on the other side of the garden, if an Android vendor does something I don't like, they have some feature I don't like, or some software choice that I don't like, I can just change the launcher. I can change my home screen, change the browser. I can just get a different device, right? I'm not like totally locked in and forced to accept whatever choice my particular brand of device has decided to do, right? I can just switch devices. I have the hardware freedom to do so, and it's not costing me thousands of dollars to switch away. Whereas kind of you see with iOS, I feel like a lot of consumers have just kind of accepted that a lot of these features would never come, and then finally they have, right? It's just because you're locked in, you have no other choice but to accept the way things are.
Yeah. So, and that's always been the value proposition on Android, right? Is that you've got more choice, you got more customizability, and like again, Apple is over the years wearing down to the point of giving people more of that choice, because obviously people do want that. Real quickly, Apple Intelligence. What do we think overall their AI thing? Thumbs up, thumbs down, joke? What? Serious?
I refuse to like, go by the marketing and like have them take over the name, but I do like what they've shown.
I think they're benefiting from seeing all the stuff that has come out before them, and they did a really good job. Sometimes you got to hold it back to see what everyone else is doing, and then you can kind of like blast everybody with a coherent, like well presented experience. So again, like, bless them. Let's see how this shakes out and makes things better. Let's see how this high tide lifts all boats.
Right.
I have some security salt. I love how on stage he was mentioning how the bad thing about AI is how they have to reach out to servers that are owned by a specific company in order to bring you the information that you're trying to get when you're interacting with these different AIs. And then he pretty much said that they're going to do the same thing, because the iPhones are also going to do that after using on-device, which Androids also do on-device before they reach out to servers. So it's the same thing.
Yeah,
but you can trust us.
In the comparison, conveniently ignored how Google set up Gemini and doing all the stuff that we learned at I/O, but it's all marketing spin. But anyway, Win, speaking of AI, right? We got some other stuff.
Oh, yeah, we're not done, by the way, talking about AI. I guess that's just our life right now. But we've talked again. So Apple, of course, is probably very tightly integrating their Apple Intelligence into their OS. We've already talked a lot about how that's the Android team at Google's whole direction, and how they have restructured their teams to make vertical integration easier. We talked about Honor. Well, guess who else is coming into the game? Well, Nothing. And I was really confused every time we have a Nothing story about how Nothing will prioritize AI over Phone 3. So basically, the last couple of years, we had the Nothing Phone 1 coming out in July 2022. The Phone 2 was released in July 2023. July 2024, you're going to have to hold on a little bit, because Nothing is also going to get into the AI game, and not just, doing a normal thing or a pedestrian thing like just integrating Gemini. Carl Pei actually went onto Twitter, or the social network formerly known as Twitter, now X, to basically outline their plans and their ideas for AI, but that also means that in order to get their AI experience right, they're not going to be coming out with the Phone 3 this year. And instead, it will be released sometimes next year with hopefully fully baked AI features. And if you want an example of like the vision that Carl Pei is, kind of putting forth for their AI, he actually gives, in his kind of video spiel on Twix, has a demo with Waleed from the London team. And I don't want to like opine on it too much, but it definitely, I think he's kind of echoing a lot of things that we've heard of and seen from different products about like the post app world where, the OS is not just an app launcher. It is your central hub for collating, connecting, personalizing, customizing, and driving actions that you would want to do. And that's kind of what is reflected in it. And they envision their own version of a personalized assistant. But yeah, check it out if you're curious on what the Nothing flavor of AI is, but that's what they're doing. And not just them, by the way. So is Oppo. So Oppo very recently had a London AI conference. And I mean, like Oppo has actually had a lot of partnerships. And I think this is actually really interesting is that I didn't mention this last week, but when I talked to JetBrains AI lead, he was talking about how they want to use the right, AI model for the right task, right? So ChatGPT for this thing and like Copilot for this thing. Oppo seems to be kind of like sort of also kind of, playing with a lot of different AI partners in the space as well as building their own. So what they're basically announcing at their London AI conference is that they're committed to AI phones or AI features rather being accessible on all of their phones. And you can actually see on Twix, Billy Zhang's post on it, kind of citing like that they have over 5,000 AI patents and that they're looking to make sure that AI is accessible across all of their lines. And also that they're still going to be working with Google to bring Gemini LLMs to the Oppo Reno 12 series and the company's next X flagship. I mean, and they're working with other companies like MediaTek, and we talked about the new Dimensity and their AI-focused chips. And they're also working with Microsoft, I think, for speech and text recognition. So Oppo is also all in on AI. And since Oppo is a is it BBK or BKK? Sorry, BBK brand, one could speculate also whether, this kind of like AI enthusiasm and all these AI partnerships might also bring fruit to other BBK brands like OnePlus and Realme. But yeah, everybody is doing their own AI. Everybody's working with other things. Everybody's integrating it in the OS. AI for everybody, AI everywhere.
It's a new drinking game, right?
I mean, to Carl Pei's credit, he said in the videos, like, yeah, we know. Kind of like everyone's got to have an AI these days. And
AI and everything, everywhere, all at once.
Oh gosh,
that's the question. Is it avoidable, or is this the new normal? Like, is that, and because that's my other thought too, is that both, I thought, and when echoing your statement, I thought it was interesting how Carl Pei positioned Nothing's kind of point and like what we've seen with Rabbit and the LAM and versus the LLMs, but then Oppo or Oppo or whatever I was forget, but talking about how everyone should have access to generative AI tools and stuff like that. But like, do people really want access to generative AI tools on their phone? Like, is this a solution that doesn't have not a problem but a desire in the user base yet?
I mean, that's exactly what a friend of mine. So I've talked with a lot of Android devs recently, and like AI like tools for coding assistants aside, it and that's exactly a friend of mine who works at Uber's phrased it that way. Is like, it feels like generative AI is a problem or solution looking for a problem. And that's just the thing is like, at least from a dev side, like it's not like you can just like stick generative AI anywhere. And the problem is like, I used to work at Adobe. Adobe is actually creative software is probably a great place for generative AI. Guess what? They're rolling their own thing. So I don't know what this space is and I don't know what it is. It feels like a lot of hype and that everyone's just FOMO, just FOMO. And in a business sense, I don't know, that seems very simplistic, but it just feels like everyone feels like they're going to really like lose out and in a serious financial way if they don't throw their hat in this ring. But it's kind of crazy. Like the fragmentation in the AI space, like everyone has their own thing. Is that beneficial? Is it not? Like, is it more secure? I don't know. Shannon, thoughts on this?
Oh gosh,
space?
I wish I knew. I mean, I'm glad that companies are bringing it to us so that we have that availability, and we do have a lot of choice in the matter. And when it comes to like people that I frequently am around, a lot of, normal non-techie people, I try to ask them, like, without saying, do you use AI? I try to ask them, like, what kind of apps are you using on your phone? Or like, I have a friend that has a Z Flip. So I ask her, like, what do you use on your phone? Why do you have a Z Flip? Like, what's the specific thing that you use? She uses those automatic translations all the time on her Z Flip because she travels to Japan all the time. So in those sense, like, she might not even recognize that she's using some kind of AI on her phone, but she's using it every single time she goes to Japan. And the same thing for me. Like, I use AI almost every single day, like Magic Eraser if I'm posting a picture on Instagram, but also like I'm a media person, like I'm a YouTuber. So that's kind of a part of my job. Like, I have to do those things to erase, personal information on a dog tag or whatever it might be. So it depends on the person in terms of like, are they going to use it and are they going to recognize that they're using AI, or is it just going to become a part of their like normal day-to-day scenario that they develop over the next couple of years where they might not even notice it?
And that's been the Google kind of Trojan horse approach up until this past year, where like they were building machine learning and building AI tools and stuff like that, and just putting it into the applications, and then only now bring it to the forefront when AI became like when OpenAI pushed AI as something to market. But to your point, like I was thinking about what my AI usage is, and honestly, like I'm proactively trying to use Gemini. And I find myself using it in a lot more for writing, but not to like, hey, write me this, but more like I will write something and I'll say, hey, make this better. Or like, like as like an editor, because I don't have an editor like with me or whatever else. Or like earlier today, I was in a rush and I was filling out a form and I was doing a recommendation for a friend of mine for an MBA program. And it was like, here's 1,000 characters to describe this person. And I just went to Gemini. I'm like, write a 1,000 character statement about how great this person is. And here's some of their traits. And it gave me this thing that I then quickly edited and put in, kind of my own words and then did it. It saved me the time. It did, because like I always go back to my wife's kind of response, especially after Google I/O, and we talked about it on the show, where it's like the examples of how to use Gemini are like, use it to respond to an email and say, write a response that says, yes, I'd love to meet for dinner. And she's like, I could just write the email that says, yes, I'd love to meet for dinner. Like, I don't need that. But when there's something that actually brings a level of intelligence and time saving, that's, to me, is the sweet spot. And to your point, Shannon, those use cases have to emerge and people have to be comfortable. It's so early. People are comfortable enough to lean on something to do that. And they're just not there yet, I don't think.
Well, just real quick, Shannon, like you're a creator, you have your own brand identity, and you're like specialized in security and privacy. Mm-hmm. What are like a couple things that give you pause with all this kind of AI hype and kind of like just like innovation, kind of like everyone's jumping on the bandwagon? As a creative person and a tech person and a security person, what is it that you want people to be most like cognizant of or wary of in this space?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I think it would be the amount of data that AI has to use in order to get better, and how, like, in order for us to be able to use AI, we're also giving them so much of our personal data, whether that's on like social media or social platforms, or maybe it's just when you're talking to AI or you're using something like ChatGPT or Gemini, like you're sharing personal information. Even if it's just on device, it's still, you're giving that data to a computer in a sense. And that's a concern. And that might be something that people don't necessarily think about when they're considering the ease of use of this technology. Like, yeah, it's super fancy and sparkly, but you need to consider like, what's the convenience over that security? Like, what's the balance for your personal scenario?
Yep. A lot of tough questions that are going to be answered over the next. I mean, the companies are forcing us to answer these questions.
Yeah,
they're forcing
we're not done talking about AI.
My biggest worry is that like all the focus on it is just it's like it's Mean Girls. It's like, stop trying to make fetch happen. Like, stop trying to make AI happen. And the developers and then the user base turn on it and eschew it, and it could be a mess. So
Right.
we'll
I
see.
literally
We'll
said
see.
stop trying to make fetch happen in this context earlier today. So
Too good. So, all right. Well, Mishaal, tell me you got some news that doesn't involve AI.
Thankfully, I do, Ron, because
Yay.
earlier today, actually, Google unveiled the latest Pixel feature drop for June 2024. So for those who don't know, Pixel feature drop is a series of quarterly updates that Google rolls out that bring a lot of new features for their Pixel devices. And this one brings quite a couple of features, mostly for their flagship devices like their Pro models, but a couple for their mid-range devices like the A series. So starting out is Gemini Nano support is coming to the Pixel 8 and the Pixel 8a. So if you aren't aware, Gemini Nano was launched with the Pixel 8 Pro as well as the Galaxy S24 series, but it wasn't made available on the regular Pixel 8. And that sparked some outrage because, the Pixel 8 and the 8 Pro have the same Tensor G3 chipset, but they didn't bring it to the regular Pixel 8. And people are like, what the heck? Didn't you promise 7 years of updates? Yada, yada. People were like, where's the promised features? We should be getting the same features that the more expensive model is getting. But eventually Google reneged, and they are bringing it to the Pixel 8 and the 8a with the June Pixel feature drop update. But you have to opt in. You have to go into the settings, developer options, and then enable this enable on-device Gen AI features option before you can use Gemini Nano powered features. And the reason it's opt-in is because loading this AI core service into memory persistently so that these Gemini Nano powered features can be run on demand eats up quite a bit of RAM. And the regular Pixel 8 and the Pixel 8a only have 8 gigs of RAM. And that sounds like a lot, and it should be a lot. But in the era of generative AI, we need a lot more memory than what we have now in a lot of smartphones.
Memory
And
chomping AI bots
Yeah.
that are crunching data constantly, right? So
Yeah. The next exciting feature is display output support, finally. So there hasn't been a single Pixel phone that supported outputting its display when you connect it to an external monitor. But finally now, if you have a Pixel 8, Pixel 8 Pro, or Pixel 8a on the June update, you can connect your device to an external monitor using a USB-C to USB-C cable or a USB-C to HDMI adapter. And so long as the cable is capable of display output, you should be able to mirror your display. You're not going to get a Samsung DeX-like desktop mode, although I have previously reported that Google is working on a revamped desktop mode. We don't know when that's going to be coming, but that's something they're working on, and we could see that in the future. The next update is in the Google Phone app. You'll be able to do a reverse phone number lookup. So if you get an unknown call, so if you get a call from an unknown number, you can go to your call log and tap the lookup button and hopefully find out who called you.
This is great because the number of times I get a phone call and then I go to my keyboard and I type in the phone number to see who it is. Like that, this is to put it on device. I mean, Shannon, you're reacting the same way, right? Like it's.
Oh my gosh, I can't tell you like the amount of weird text messages that I get, and I always just like block it. And maybe it's somebody I know, and I have no idea. Like, I'm sorry if I blocked you, but I don't know who that was. It's not in my contacts. That's gonna be so useful.
Oh, y'all look up pig butchering scams. It sounds awful, but
no.
related thing to random text messages from people that may or may not know you.
Both me and my wife have been getting the recruiter scams lately.
Oh, I got those too.
Hey, I have a job. Can I tell you the details? Like,
Yeah.
no, like block. Like,
Most of the spam that I've been getting has been via text message, and it's been all been political donation, solicitations. And
Oh, that's like a different.
I don't know
different
how I
flavor.
got on that list,
No.
and I pray someday I'll be able to get off those lists because it's never ending.
Nope. You never will. Trust me, you never will. So, all right. Well, what else is there, Mishaal?
If you use the Pixel voice recorder app, when you generate a summary on supported devices like the Pixel 8, 8 Pro, and 8a, you'll now be able to include or see speaker labels in those summaries. So, like when you're creating a transcript in the voice recorder app, you can have speaker labels. Now those speaker labels can show up in that like 3 bullet point summary at the top.
Cool.
That's
Next feature is something Google actually said is already available, but I guess they're just reiterating now. And it's the ability to locate your Pixel 8 device, even when it's powered off or the battery is dead. And that's possible because Google actually wired up the Pixel 8 series devices so that they can continue powering their Bluetooth chip even when they're powered off. And that powering can continue for up to 23 hours even after the main battery is completely died out, because that is like a secondary channel reserved to feed power to that Bluetooth chip. And this will enable your device, to continue being located on the Find My Device network for long after the device has been shut down. And the next feature is coming to the Pixel Camera app, and this is improved frame selection. So when you're taking a photo with HDR+, the algorithm that it uses to decide what the best photo is among that series of photos that are being shot is being improved. And this is coming to all Pixel phones with the Pixel Camera app and the Pixel tablet, although I don't know who's taking photos with their Pixel tablet.
I gotta tell you, every now and then I see somebody in the wild taking pictures with a tablet, and I always just shake my head. And I've seen it at Disney, I've seen it at baseball games, I've seen just the idea of bringing the tablet to a place like that, then to take it just drives me crazy. They should never put cameras in tablets. So
my favorite was I went to my cousin's graduation, a grandma with an iPad with the folding folio cover, with the cover folding down, holding it up to take a picture. So not only was the iPad there, but also a long folio folder coming down. So anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, very quickly, the last couple ones. You're also getting manual lens selection on previous Pixel devices, so you can change manually to your telephoto or ultra wide lens on the Pixel Fold, Pixel 6 Pro, and Pixel 7 Pro. That used to be something you could only do on the Pixel 8 Pro. Mm-hmm. If you have a Pixel Watch 2, you'll now be able to detect car crashes, which is something that you've been able to do with your phones since the Pixel 4. But now, if you get in a car crash, your watch can now alert emergency services and your emergency contacts.
I shouldn't laugh, but because the fact that the watch can contact emergency services is great, but I just like the idea of the car crash happening and then you're looking at your watch. I was in a car crash. It was.
Your watch can also now detect when you've fallen off a bike, which
amazing.
Is basically an expansion of a feature, the fall detection feature, which already detected when you fell over, but now it can do so when you've fallen off a bike. And then there's a couple of other stuff that technically Google already announced a couple of weeks ago with the
PayPal one. Yeah, I remember seeing that.
PayPal stuff, the enhanced Google Home app and tiles and complications, and then also the Pixel tablet's able to show doorbell notifications. That's something they also announced a couple of weeks ago, but now they're showing off with an image here.
Cool.
And that's it for the Pixel feature drop. So quite a few things.
Yay!
They also, as I reported on AndroidFaithful.com, this update also brings Android 14 QPR3 along with it, which doesn't have that many changes worth talking about. I guess the one main one would be the fact that when you enable the webcam feature, there's now a high quality mode, which, as I've demonstrated live on show before, dramatically increases the quality of your Pixel phone's webcam if you enable that HQ mode. Without it, your video quality is frankly trash. And that's pretty much it in terms of major Android 14 QPR3 updates. There's a lot of bug fixes that are accompanying it. But mostly those Pixel feature drop those features that they announced on the blog post are the ones that are worth looking out for.
Yeah. So go to AndroidFaithful.com. You can get all of the breakdown of it. But that's not all. There was a little news last week, right? Right, Mishaal?
Very quickly, Google announced that you'll finally be able to text emergency services over RCS. So you can already do so via SMS in about 50% of the emergency call centers around the US. But Google is partnering with an emergency service provider to enable this through RCS in a lot of call centers around the US. And this is coming out this winter. Google's working with a lot of emergency call providers to enable this support. And basically what this will allow you to do is this will allow you to have some peace of mind so that you can read receipts. You can see when someone is texting you back. You can send higher quality images or videos showing your current situation. You can send your real-time location. Just a lot of nice quality of life things that improve the quality of information you can share and receive when you're texting emergency services.
Yet another benefit of RCS, right, Shannon? There's the pros of RCS.
I love it. I love the safety features. That's really cool.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Mishaal, for that. So good stuff coming out of the Android and Google Pixel drop. Now it is time to thank our supporters of the show. We appreciate all of the patrons who head over to patreon.com and support us over there. And every week, those patrons get to vote on a story for us to talk about here on the show. And this week, it was a nail biter, that's for sure. But first, as I teased earlier in the show, here is this week's listener-generated Android news graphic, which features a astromech-like bug droid deep in battle with a fruit-like robot on the front page of the Android newspaper. This one was fantastic, and as I was going through the ones to choose for this week, I'm like, oh, this is appropriate given Apple. So shout out to Derek Holmes for providing that graphic, which is awesome. And before I get into all the stories, I want to thank Brian Albers, Barry Fishman, Jeffrey Wilshire, Michael Dizkowski, and former guest of the show, Brendan Bigley, all supporters on Patreon, patreon.com/AndroidFaithful. We thank everybody for their support. You guys are awesome. And the nail biter of stories this week was quite interesting. We had a selection of 3 stories to choose from. The first one was Samsung's next update might include a feature you'll probably never use. And that only got 12% of the vote, which that might have been the headline. If we chose a different story, I think that might have done it. But that was basically outlining a new way to access the time on your display on a Samsung device. So then we actually had a tie. 44% of the vote went to Android on Rabbit R1 runs perfectly. And then the other winner was DuckDuckGo's privacy-enabled AI chat is here. So Mishaal, Huyen, and I talked before the show, and we decided to go with DuckDuckGo because we wanted to give a little more time to talk about DuckDuckGo because we talked about the rabbit more than enough. But yeah, so DuckDuckGo is rolling. Here we are. We can't get away from AI. They're rolling out AI chat. Which is going to offer access to a bunch of different AI models, but in doing so, putting priority around your data privacy, around the user's data privacy. So all the conversations the AI conversations are stored temporarily, and DuckDuckGo removes the metadata, ensures that data is deleted within 30 days. The app is now live and available for free with a daily usage limit, and then they're going to be offering a paid version for more advanced models. And so just to give just for reference, you can choose from the AI models that you want to interact with, like OpenAI's GPT 3.5 Turbo, Anthropic's Claude 3 Haiku, and Meta's Llama 3. And you can do them all completely anonymously. So this is pretty cool, DuckDuckGo. I mean, it's like giving an entry point to chat-based AI tools, but maintaining your private, like almost being like a middleware layer of privacy. Does anybody use DuckDuckGo as their search engine of choice, or
Sometimes
I mean
Yes.
to, but it's just so easy to type Google, right?
It kind of depends on what I'm searching for. Like if I think that it's going to like totally screw up my regular algorithm on all the websites I use, then I'm going to use DuckDuckGo. But normally
Kinda feel
I'll use
like-
something that like I'm trying to make the algorithm do specific things.
I kind of feel like this is DuckDuckGo jumping the shark a bit. I feel like they shouldn't be touching these large, like these
Really?
chatbots with like a 10-foot stick, 10-foot pole is what you call it. It just feels like something they should
Hot take.
stay away from completely. Like just given their privacy focused, like image and like the reputation they're trying to uphold, like as like the privacy alternative to a lot of search engines, and then they're like kind of letting you making it easy to access a lot of these arguably like privacy invasive, chatbots. And I know they're doing it in a way they say is privacy preserving, but like the way these chatbots were trained in the first place is just very iffy. And I'm sure a lot of people who use DuckDuckGo would agree and, would be wary of the way these chatbots were trained in the first place.
It's the 30 days of storage of the data before they say they'll delete it. Maybe they'll delete it before then, but the 30 days thing, that concerns me. That's like a little bit of a red flag. But I would need to see more information about how they have tested the security of this feature. How are they making sure that nobody else has access to those 30 days worth of data? Like,
Yep.
how are they storing this information? So, yeah, I agree with you. It is a little concerning. I don't know if I would use it personally when I'm using DuckDuckGo. Maybe other people would find use, but
Is
I'd
it
probably
DuckDuckGo
skip.
just chasing the trend? It's just like trying to do it, but on their terms. But yeah, I mean, it's clearly, the buzzword, right? And so if you want to attract people, like, well, how can we offer access to AI but not create AI?
What would make you what would make it less of a red flag? Like what can people like look out for? Like so 30 days is too long. What could someone be a little more comfortable with? Like
0.
0. Good answer. All right. There you go.
No data storage. Or anonymize everything. Like don't
Yeah.
even have any data like being sent anywhere. Like no, anonymize all the things, like make sure that it is hashed and super super salted, and like I want my things to be secure, especially if I'm using DDG for like specific search engine uses.
I like
I
that.
make it sound like I'm doing weird
No,
stuff on
no, but-
DDG, but I'm not. I promise.
You are superbly salty about security, saltiness, saltiness.
Salty.
Salty hashes. as we
Salty
used to say.
hashes. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, DuckDuckGo, for possibly jumping the shark. But we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. But in the meantime, we're gonna move on into hardware. And Mishaal, you have some impressions and experiences after playing with the Find My Device network, right?
Yeah, so as I started off last week, I have a whole bunch of Pebble.Bee trackers and also the Chipotle trackers, and I actually got the opportunity to go on a trip towards the end of last week. So I actually did take all these devices. Like I had the card in my wallet, I had one of the tags hanging off my backpack. I slipped off one of the tags into a suitcase, just basically to try it out and see what it was like to have like an early experience with the network. And I guess I kind of have like mixed impressions of the network and these devices because, to be fair, it's really early. There's not a lot of devices that have the network enabled yet. And one of the things I noticed, like,
did
let
you
me show you
did you
some-
proactively lose something?
No, I'm
You
not.
should. I wish you should have left a bag on the bus and see if you could find it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not, I don't want to go through that headache. So, like, one thing I noticed is like, let me show you a screenshot quickly. You can see that. So, like, I had like for audio listeners, like I was constantly tracking the location of my various bags and my accessories throughout my experience. Like, this is a Pebble.Bee tag, kind of like geolocating where I was at when I dropped it off at the airport. And like this screenshot was 6 minutes afterwards, like after I dropped it off, and like it was detected at the airport, which is nice, right? But then like an hour later, right? Like I detected it somewhere nearby on the plane, like a different device. But like the location, look if you can't see this on the audio, but like the radius of this tracker was massive. So like it doesn't tell me at all really about like where it potentially might be. But then like as time went on and like as people were starting to board the plane, there's a lot more Android devices coming in proximity with my tracker, and then the radius of that device started to shrink significantly, which is
Interesting.
kind of nice to see in like real time, right? Like the network becoming more accurate. But of course, that requires there to actually be sufficient devices nearby to actually detect the location. I don't have a screenshot here, but I'm going to go back to my camera. One thing I did notice, like when I dropped off my luggage at like the hotel, like, when I went to drop it off at the hotel, the bellhop, and then like go do stuff, right? Like there was a long time for hours where the location was not updated at all because like it was sitting in a back room. There weren't a lot of people passing by. Like the only Android user who had passed by in hours is probably me, right? It was just sitting back there. And I would say that's probably a consequence of the fact that when you opt into the Find My Device network, by default, it uses the with high traffic option, which means that you need at least multiple devices, I think at least 2, that has to be in proximity for its location to be updated. So that might be a problem, especially early on, as a lot of users are still not opted into the network. So if you're hoping to find your device in a less high traffic area, like outside of like an airport or hotel, for example, you might have trouble getting its updated location. So those are just like my first impressions of the network. I'll continue to play around with it as I go on more trips this month and next month, and
Cool.
give you my impressions because hopefully more people, it gets better over time. That's really what I'm hoping to see.
That's the idea of the network effect of
Yeah.
like everyone
Yeah.
adopting and stuff like that. So
I adopted some Pebble Bees. I volunteer as tribute. I'll help.
I opted into the net to the my device. I chose when
Me
it said
too.
I said
I should
will you
opt in.
participate? I said yes. I haven't gotten any of the stuff because I never leave the house. So, but maybe at some point I'll pick some up and have it. But we'll see.
I pre-ordered, so I will also volunteer as tribute and contribute.
There you go.
Contributing tributes.
It's funny because a friend of the show, Mr. Burke, he emailed me. He very loudly did not opt in. He said no, and you got to wonder how many people are like that. We're like, I don't want to participate in this game.
Yeah.
So
I just got a great idea. Can we play? Okay, can we put Pebble Bees on each other and then play Manhunt?
oh, that's a
Like we're children again. But
that's a cool idea. Actually,
Cool. I like
see
it.
how accurate they are.
Or can you build some sort of Niantic Pokemon Go kind of, what was that? Ingress.
Ingress.
Some kind of game.
Yes.
Like with the trackers. I wonder is there an open API in that you could play with? I wonder.
I don't know, but now
That'd be
I
cool.
just want to play games with Pebble Bees.
Well, as several commenters on Twitch, like Cousin of Jaw and Technomensch point out, it sounds like if these trackers had ultra wideband, it would help. Well, I have some good news because Google is actually found to be working on upgrading the Find My Device network with support for ultra wideband as well as augmented finding, precision finding, kind of like what you have on the Apple Find My network. Code sleuths at Android Authority, like Assemble Debug, have discovered references in the Find My Device app that suggest this is on the way. But of course, the existing trackers, none of them have ultra wideband support, and a lot of Android phones don't have ultra wideband support. So, you're going to have to wait for new trackers to be released with that communication technology, as well as upgrade your phone to a device that has ultra wideband, because a lot of devices currently don't have that.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you, Mishaal, for that. That was great. So, Win, what's going on in Samsung land?
Well, Samsung Unpacked is already being unpacked by Evan Bloss, EvLeaks over at Twix. So if you cannot wait the just under a month to see what Samsung is going to unpack at Unpacked, EvLeaks over on Twix has sent out some scrambled marketing images, which, I mean, if you're on the video stream, it's not too hard to tell that there might be some phones with hinges on them. But yeah, these are basically scrambled marketing images that of what should or we're expecting to see at the July event. So very obviously, there's a Z Flip 6 and a Z Fold 6. It's not a surprise, right? Like it's that time of year. It's like the next model. Foldables are still a thing. And unsurprisingly, there are 3 ring-like devices in another image. Also not surprising. They've already kind of announced that. But this time, maybe looking at 3 different finishes. And there are some watches. So which watches are we seeing? We don't know quite yet, but probably a Galaxy Watch 7, a Galaxy Watch 7 Ultra, which we already kind of suspect will be in a 40 millimeter and 44 millimeter model. And that's it. We don't really see a Galaxy Watch Fan Edition FE. We don't in the marketing images, we mostly see, again, watches, rings, flip, and fold. What we aren't seeing are Galaxy Buds at all, or again, like the Galaxy Watch FE, but a couple things to note is that some other folks, I think one outlet named Android Headlines did get a hold. If you're curious on refreshing or kind of looking for a refresh of your Galaxy Buds, Android Headlines has gotten a hold of some leaked information, and they kind of like proposed through these leaks that there is going to be Galaxy Buds 3 and Galaxy Buds 3 Pro available either at Unpacked or a little bit before. And these will supposedly come in 2 colors, silver and white, and come in a Pro and baseline Bud 3 edition, IP57, Bluetooth 5.4 support, SmartThings Find support, 360 audio, high quality 24-bit 96 kilohertz audio, active noise canceling, with the Pro version having a bigger, better battery, and adaptive noise control blade lights. What are blade lights? What's the blade on the Buds? It's blade lights. Does anyone know what that is? Apparently they're going to have blade lights. Who knows? They're going to have lights of some kind on the blade, ambient sound, and again, like probably 6 hours with active noise canceling on and 7 hours with noise canceling off on terms of the Pro battery. The baseline model will have about an hour less. The case will provide 30 hours of battery life. And yeah, so there's another random tweet out there. I think mentioned one of the articles that someone just said, hey, the Galaxy Watch FE is going to come out on June 24th. So I think that's what people are kind of rumoring, that there might be kind of a pre-release of some of these kind of like other devices before the big Unpacked event. But Flip, Fold, Watch 7, Watch 7 Ultra, and the rings. Looks like what we're going to see at Unpacked, according to these, very not messed up. Scrambled,
mosaic, yeah,
mosaic.
pixelated.
Thank you, excellent word,
Yeah.
mosaic.
Yeah.
Marketing images. So if you just can't wait, there you go. That's what you'll expect to see. But I mean, I guess tune in on July 10th to Samsung Galaxy Unpacked for the real story.
July 10th is coming. I'm sure we'll be covering all over it. Shannon, are you excited for this Unpacked, or what are your thoughts around Samsung?
Absolutely. I am a Foldy fan, and I am also a smartwatch fan. I love having my Pixel Watch on hand, but big fan of all the wearables. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be paying attention. I'm even excited for the Buds. Hopefully we see some news from Buds or releases, even if it's right before Unpacked, because that's Buds are my daily drivers when it comes to earbuds. So I love the Galaxy Buds. Yeah.
Any interest in the ring at all?
I actually have a non-techie friend who asked me about the ring, like before I even saw the rumors. So I was just like, yeah, I guess I'll review that for you. As long as it fits okay, as long as it fits my finger and it doesn't feel like overpowering or too large in terms of how like thick the metal is. That bothers me on fingers, so it better not be too big.
Yeah.
That's my
100%.
only problem with rings.
I feel like coming out of Unpacked, the ring is going to be the thing that's talked. The ring is going to be the thing
Yeah,
that's
it's gonna
talked
be
about
really
the most.
popular.
I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Apparently, it's popular amongst the normies. So
yeah, I mean, again, I mean,
guess
we
I have
talked.
to review it.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about Aura last week, and then and those of you listening or watching probably knew, but I went on Daily Tech News Show last Friday and talked more about Samsung and Aura. And I'm still blown away that Aura has sold over 1 million of those rings. Like there are people like you said, normies want this, like the activity monitoring and all this sort of stuff, and like the micro nano technology in a ring. So once Samsung gets in the ring, we'll see what happens.
Gets in the
a lot
ring.
of ring puns. I can't. I was on a call. I was on a work call earlier today, and I was just like making pun after pun, like inadvertently, and like I can't control it. So.
Bless you, Ron. No, that's what we want here. More puns and more alliteration.
Well, Shannon, you're a fan of you said you're a fan of the Pixel Watch?
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan. I wear this thing every day, even though the battery dies constantly.
Well, Mishaal's got some news for
Salt on the wound.
Well, according to On Leaks and 91 Mobiles, we have renders of the Pixel Watch 3, and it looks like not much is changing in terms of a design perspective. Although the renders do show, I'd caution a little bit, that the bezels are smaller. And the reason I'm cautioning is that we don't know if that'll actually reflect the final design, because these are like CAD renders, so they don't always necessarily reflect, the actual bezel size of the real device. But they do suggest that the Pixel Watch 3 could have a reduction in bezel size and overall very similar design and sensor layout and sensors as the Pixel Watch 2. Now, if you'll recall, as the Android Police article that Ron is showing right now does point out, that there's rumored to be 2 different sizes of the Pixel Watch 3, and the one we're looking at today is the smaller one. So there could be a larger one with a larger battery, and that's the one I'm more excited to see, and that's one that hasn't been leaked yet.
I have a feeling that if these are true to rumor, that I might have to increase the size. I usually really like the smaller size of these, but because the battery capacity is so low, I might just have to opt for the larger size, even though it looks gigantic on my little wrist. I'm kind of sad about that.
True. Oh, that's not my Pixel Watch. My Pixel Watch is here because it's dead.
Thank you for the solidarity.
my dead Pixel 2 watch, which I do love, by the way. This has turned me into a watch person. So
yeah, it's so nice.
I
just wish the battery lasted longer, but
100%.
yeah, I am glad they're keeping with the form factor, because the simplicity of the form factor is so nice. It's so solid. It goes with anything. If you're into fashion, it goes with anything that you're going to wear. So it looks really good, and it's so intuitive and easy to use. So I just wish the battery lasted longer.
Yep. It's funny because the Pixel Watch 2 I've got my charging stand. It's now always charged. I don't have to wrestle with the thing. It's great. I just forget to put it on. So I don't wear it. I don't wear it around the house. And like, I actually went into Brooklyn on Sunday to play in a pinball tournament. And I was like, oh, this would be a great opportunity to have the watch, and like, because you want to save battery, because I was there for 12 hours and stuff. And I forgot to put it on. Like I remembered like halfway through, I'm like, oh, I should have worn my watch here. But yeah, so. All right. Well, a couple more new phone news real quickly to go through. We talked about Nothing earlier, and they're putting forward AI before they get into the Phone 3. But their sub brand CMF is getting ready to release the Nothing CMF Phone 1, and they posted on the site formerly known as Twitter a little teaser of the CMF Phone 1. Describing it as wonderful by design, where they'll be leveraging Nothing's innovation and meticulous attention to design, making it a wonderful entry point to our entire product ecosystem. As others overlook this category, we're giving it our full attention. So I like the idea of a low entry, like a mid-range or lower phone. And the little snapshot of the phone is very orange and has a dial, which is very rabbity kind of in that, but like, I'm excited by this. What did you guys think of this? Shannon,
it's like the corner of the phone with the dial wedged into the corner, like recessed into the phone. Like,
I like it.
I like me a physical dial, but girl, I need to know what that dial is.
No,
for.
what is it for?
Well, if it's like so let's think about it, because like they're showing in the photo, the dial appears to be to the lower right, which I was trying to, but that doesn't necessarily need to be where it's oriented. That could just be the photo. Like the dial could be up top or whatever.
That's true.
But if it's like a scrolly thing, that'd be kind of cool. Like if you hold it and you scroll it with your thumb, right? But does it work with left-handed people?
Can you customize it? Does it also have a click in? Like can you like push on it real fast and make it just continue spinning? Like I want to know these things. I need more information.
Agreed. And I wonder how much were they kicking themselves when they saw the rabbit and they're like, they stole the orange. But if you're curious about what the CMF phone inside with that dial has, it looks like the CMF Phone 1 is going to move from the Dimensity 7200 chipset to the MediaTek newer 7300 system on a chip to drive the phone itself. So, and it's also, according to Gadget Bits on Twitter, it's also going to come with an SD card slot. And here's another kind of render.
That's a sexy color.
Yep.
It's a really nice red. People, I mean, if you're an audio only person, Google the CMF Phone 1. It's a really nice red, and it's got, I mean, it's very geometric. It's got, I mean, like red is definitely part of like the Nothing brand, like red, white, and clear. So that's really attractive. That's sexy.
I'm excited about it. We'll see.
Oh,
and then real quickly, this was a little bit of a niche, but I was excited to see the news actually earlier today as the Light Phone announced the Light Phone 3. And how many of you, Mishaal, Shannon, are you familiar with the Light Phone? Do you know what the deal with this is? Yep.
Heard of it.
I know what it is,
but
never touched one.
Never used one.
So it's a minimalist phone. It runs it's running a version, an adapted version of Android called Light OS that they developed themselves. And the whole idea is that the phone is designed to do very little. It doesn't allow social media. The earlier Light phones just had a keypad to call people and send text, and that's it. But now with the Light Phone 3, they're moving a little to add a little more functionality, but they want to keep it very, very simple. They're moving to an e-ink screen. So the previous phones were an OLED panel. This is an 3.92 inch e-ink screen. And it's going to have 1080 by 1240 pixel resolution. And they're adding more functions to it, so you'll be able to play music. You'll be able to do a little more stuff with it. They did add cameras, which is not which is a new thing for them. They've added a 50 megapixel on the back and an 8 megapixel on the front. So they're getting a little more functionality with it. It's up for pre-order now. They said it's going to ship in January. It costs $399. For now, it costs $399, but they're not sure what the final price will be. They're guessing that the retail price is going to be closer to $799, which is very, very expensive. But if you are looking for a dumb phone or a feature phone or a minimalist phone, give the Light Phone 3 a look at it, and because it's definitely a different approach to the phone, and I like when people are doing something different. So
I might actually be able to sell my dad on a smartphone with this kind of phone, because he's just overwhelmed by Android. And I was just kind of telling a less good story about how I couldn't get him a smartwatch with all the safety features, but maybe he'll like this. It's so minimal.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I like it.
So, all right, cool. So, so that's the Light Phone. Those are all our hardware stuff, and so now we're gonna move into apps. And I think first up is Mishaal. You got a cool little Samsung demo for us, right?
That's right, Ron. So last week I was actually invited by Samsung to check out some of their new monitors at Summer Games Fest in Los Angeles. I know it's kind of like off-brand a bit for this podcast, because a lot of the stuff there was not really directly Android related. But it was still a cool opportunity nonetheless, and I got to see some things that were kind of Android related. And one of them is the multi-control feature that I didn't know existed, or I kind of was vaguely familiar with it, but I didn't know exactly what it was useful for. And I saw a live demo of it on a Samsung monitor, the Smart Monitor M8, and what it allows you to do. So I'm going to pull up this video here quickly and switch over to me. So I'm not going to play the audio here, but as you can see right here, I am like getting a demo of this smart multi-control feature. And there's this Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 Ultra next to a Samsung Smart Monitor M8. And what you can't see is behind the monitor, there's actually a USB dongle that is connecting the keyboard and the mouse to the monitor. But that keyboard and mouse is not only controlling the PC that's connected to this monitor, but it's also able to seamlessly transition over and control the tablet as well. And this is made possible via the Samsung multi-control feature that's built into One UI 5.1 and later, that basically just like allows you to turn your monitor into a wireless KVM, which is, I think, a really cool feature for you to have, so that you don't have to have a dock that you have to unplug from your monitor or from your PC and plug it into your tablet. You can just have everything, your peripherals plugged into your monitor, seamlessly switch between your PC and then your tablet or your phone. And I think that was a really cool demo that I saw of something that's actually kind of Android related at Summer Game Fest with the new monitors. And Samsung says this capability is built into all of their monitors that have smart capabilities. So their 32-inch Smart Monitor M8, as well as the new Samsung 32-inch Odyssey OLED G8 device that I also checked out, and that I'll be sharing more information about later. So as you can see here in the video, I'm just showing the dongles that are attached on the back.
That's so cool.
So cool.
Right? I mean, like this is like, I know in the past I haven't been the biggest Samsung fan or even like shown any interest in Samsung, but like this is the advantage of them being a company that makes monitors and phones and stuff, is that they can do stuff like this, right?
Yeah, this is the power of ecosystem, and this is something that Samsung has a lot of. They have so many devices you can connect to.
Yep.
Does it matter which keyboard and mouse you use, or does it just need a Bluetooth dongle?
You just need the dongle that's connecting to the monitor, and then the monitor, as long as you have Samsung devices that support multi-control, it'll seamlessly switch between them.
That's very cool.
My gosh. Yes.
That's
I have a Samsung tab, and now I want one of their monitors. This would save me so much time.
There you go. Very cool. You know what also might save you time? Shannon, do you use Windows?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Right. Yeah, well, so there's an interesting development happening with the Windows 11 enabling access to an Android's device's file system directly within within File Explorer.
Yes!
So over on Twitter, user Phantom Ocean 3 posted, looks like the cross-device experience host will let you make your device show up in File Explorer for a future update. That a toggle has been hidden in the app for some time. So if you look in Manage Mobile Devices on cross the device experience host in Windows 11, there's Show Mobile Device in File Explorer. You can turn it on or off. And then there's a screen for permissions to give permissions to request access to your Android device. Can you imagine accessing the file system from the desktop like that?
Y'all, I use my Android phones all the time in my studio to record video because nobody knows that you're using an Android phone versus a professional camera. And I always have to upload things to Google Photos and then download it to my Windows device in order to edit on my desktop. Can I tell you, like, this, as long as it syncs quickly to File Explorer and I'm able to download it from file or able to, use it in my editor without any buffering or any issues like that, like that's going to save so much time. As a content creator, like that's big. I'm excited.
Excellent.
This better happen.
I think it's safe to say. I mean, Mishaal, what do you think the odds of this happening? I mean, it's in there, right? Like it's in the app itself.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. They're even requesting the right permission for it, like getting the all files access, and then integrating into the File Explorer is just a really neat way to have it presented to the user, like without them in a way they already understand because they're already using it for all their other peripherals, like USB drives and everything.
Yep.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Very cool. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for apps, and let's wind this sucker down. We did get an email from the community and a reminder to everybody that you can email us at contact@androidfaithful.com. It's always great to hear from everyone, and it's great. So many people are responding or listening or watching the show, and then during the week chiming in, and that's what we love, so please keep it coming in. In fact, this email is just that, as listener writes in and says, hey, I was just listening to the podcast and someone had an issue with Samsung and their screen breaking and it not being covered by the warranty. This discussion happened last week. The person had a Z Fold, I believe, and turns out the warranty wasn't covering it. He says, just wanted to let you know that some credit cards offer phone insurance if you pay your monthly bill with them. I have the Chase Freedom Flex card and pay my Google Fi plan monthly with it, and supposedly it will cover one phone replacement per year with some deductible. I don't remember the details off the top of my head. And then it looks like I don't have the rest of the email. Let me finish what he's saying. I'm sorry about that. He says, not sure on the fine print. I haven't had to use it yet, so there may be some exception for foldables or something, but wanted to let you know in case it can save someone some time and money down the road. And that email came in from Eric. So thank you, Eric. And to our listener last week who wrote in with the broken Samsung, I believe it was Chris from Virginia, who had a problem with the Z Flip 5. If you're paying your phone bill with your credit card, there might be some sort of protection there. So you never know. Lots of services and offerings that we have access to that sometimes it's so overwhelming, you might not even know what you have. So definitely check that out. So thank you. Email us at contact@androidfaithful.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, and that's going to be wrapping it up for Android Faithful this week. Shannon, thank you for joining us. We're actually almost to our 1-year anniversary. Is it July? We looked this up last week.
It's soon. It's
June.
It's June. Yeah, what is it? It is it will be June. No, July 9th is our 52nd
July 9th,
episode.
yeah.
Yeah,
so,
I think July 11th was our first episode last year.
Yeah, so we haven't even quite had our first birthday yet, but we're really lucky to have some amazing repeat guests like Shannon. Shannon, for anyone who happened to not know who you are, which they really should because you're freaking awesome. What do you want people to know about you and where can they find you on the internet?
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. YouTube.com/Shannon Morse is the best place to go. That's where you can find all of my own Android coverage. Specifically, I love doing reviews about Android devices, and I always trickle in some kind of security content in there as well.
Very
well,
cool.
security is paramount, and also paramount is knowing all about the Android OS that we know and love, and we have our own resident expert, Mishaal Rahman. Mishaal, what do you want the people to know this week about what you're doing?
Well, if you're looking for Android news, there's a whole lot coming up this week, at least what I'm expecting. So if you want to find out what's happening in Android 15 and beyond, follow me on all the socials or go to patreon.com/Mishaal Rahman to support my work. and join the Discord community, and also get early access. Like, actually, you get access to the Android Decoded newsletter if you subscribe there, as well as subscribing directly through the website. So yeah, be sure to follow me, not just there, but also on, X, Mastodon, Threads, etc. if you want to find out what I'm posting and what I'm preparing to post.
Yeah, I'm mentioning AndroidFaithful.com. We would not have our awesome new website without the hard work of Ron and Ron's continued hard work while Jason's away. Ron, how about you?
We love it. We love it. Yeah. And so go to AndroidFaithful.com because that is where you can see a lot of Mishaal. You're publishing great stuff there. We published the show here. We're doing some good stuff. I've gotten a lot of questions from you, the listeners out there, about how you can support us if you don't want to use Patreon or don't want to have a monthly subscription to the website. Well, you can just go to AndroidFaithful.com/donate. And that is where you can just drop any amount of money you want into our little tip jar. And we appreciate everybody who supports us, for the hard work that we do for the show, because we do it all for you. So please go to AndroidFaithful.com, check it out if you like it. Choose to donate, choose to sign up, do whatever you want. We love you no matter what. And you can find me on socials. I'm RonXO across the board. Pretty easy to find, mainly on Instagram. So,
sorry, I just wanted to call out in the chat that Cousin of Jaw, loyal listener Cousin of Jaw says Snubs is internet podcast royalty. She is indeed a queen.
Aww.
She is.
I left my crown upstairs. Sorry.
I mean, I am honored to. I am
We'll give
honored
you
to
a
say.
new crown. Oh, wait, that way.
I'm
Thanks,
honored to
Mishaal.
say that Shannon, we've known each other. I mean, like
Over a decade.
I was gonna say it's coming close to 2 decades. We're like in a
Yeah.
couple of years because I started at Rev 3 back in 2007
Me
and it's
too.
2024
Yeah.
now. So yeah,
I
it's
probably
definitely
met
been-
you around 2008.
Probably. Yep. Yeah. So good times. I was just
Oh my gosh.
I was just last week I was talking with Roger and Tom after doing DTNS and reminiscing about back in the days of all the crazy stuff we used to
Aw.
do. So
I still have
Good times.
pictures. I probably have some terrible blackmail of you.
probably of far too much
Contact
booze at South by Southwest and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
But it is so great that our little community is so vibrant and that
I
here it is
agree.
more than 10 years later we're doing podcasts together still and it's fantastic. So yeah.
You
love
can
it.
see our passion, and I
Yeah.
love seeing it from everybody.
Yeah, agreed.
Shannon is a queen, and I sometimes think I am, and that's why my handle is at Queen
Yes.
Code Monkey, and you can find me
You
on
are.
Instagram. I finally did switch over to AndroidDev.social after some stubborn drawing on my part, so you can also find me at Queen Code Monkey at AndroidDev.social finally, and find all my other stuff at randomlytyping.com. But that is it for us this week. We publish every Tuesday evening. Make sure you look for us out there on the interwebs from your podcatcher of choice. And as Ron mentioned, you can support us monthly on patreon.com/AndroidFaithful, or, find us at AndroidFaithful.com, our loving, beautiful new website. But again, that's it for us this week. And yeah, don't forget, if you have any feedback for us, contact AndroidFaithful.com. And yeah, thanks so much for joining us, Shannon, and dancing us out as we dance out like the Android Faithful.
All right. Give it up for the dancing. I love it. So cool.
Beautiful, beautiful. Oh my god, that's so cute. Is that like a unicorn? A pangy unicorn?
It's a pangacorn. I
Drinking.
got it from Meow Wolf. Drinking
Really?
like a slushy. Yeah.
All
Isn't he
right.
cute? He's
I'm
stressed
so
off.
thirsty just looking at it. Here, let me just drink another drink out of my huge bottle that is
It's
so
an
big it
enormous
echoes.
bottle of water.
It's huge. It's
Yeah.
32 ounces.
So let's talk show titles. So the current vote getter is Clinton provided AI and everything everywhere all at once.
Ah, I
That
love
was
that.
actually
AI,
something I
sorry,
said
AI.
on the
Yes.
show, but that's what
Yeah.
I vote for.
Yep. Cousin of Josh said you get an AI. You get an AI. Stealth Dave says 15 seconds of RCS news, please. Nothing to do with
Deserve
AI.
more.
I like
Duck jumping the shark. Put a dongle on the back. What's Android old? Is Apple new again?
Oh,
there's AI everywhere all at once again. There it is. Everybody gets their own AI. Duck AI. Here. It's not here. The ring's gonna be the thing. So what do we all think? What do we like? Do with AI everything everywhere all at once?
I
That
like
was
that one.
yeah, that's something that I suggested, and I
That's
voted
our
for that.
winner.
I mean, I think a majority of our stories were AI. I
It
mean,
was so AI
Yeah.
heavy.
so
week,
AI
yeah.
this week, and in all kinds of things. That's very appropriate. So.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up. We're gonna not do much post show because I've got a lot to do all the editing and all that fun stuff. But everyone, thank you for watching. You're all fantastic. Shannon, thank you for joining us again. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.
So-
It was good to see y'all.
Yeah. All right. We'll hang out, Shannon. We're gonna stop the stream and then we'll finish all our uploads. But everybody, have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next week for week 2 without Jason. So,
Everybody, see you
Bye.
next week.